Welcome to another episode of Insider Knowledge. This week we have David Finch, who is the Managing Director of Purple Frog. And I've just gone onto your website. It says, helping customers buy from you so you don't have to sell to them. I thought it's quite a catchy title. David, tell me who you are and what you're about.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Duncan, for inviting me along. As you said, we're here really to help people understand how to do marketing just with a different edge on the way they think about it. So rather than trying to push market and sell and push messages in front of people, it's more about how you frame the message you have, the value proposition you have, and the way you tell your story so that you're encouraging people to find out more about you. So you're helping them, and that's the concept of helping people buy from you, so you have to market and sell less. And I'm sure you're going to ask me something later along the lines of return on investment, and we can come back to that because I'm sure that's going to be really relevant as to how you increase return on investment.
Yeah, definitely. So what kind of makes you different? Because there's a lot of the marketing agencies on the market all saying they can sell the dream, some better than others. What makes you different then?
Well, I think this is really, in the marketing world, this is really hard because we do it for our clients, and therefore trying to do it for yourself is really difficult. So we always quite happily admit it's quite a difficult thing to do for yourself. But the way we're very strategic in the way we look at marketing, and strategic in the way that it isn't strategy around how you build a campaign plan. It isn't strategy about how you build out a digital marketing strategy per se. It's strategy that links marketing and sales activity back to the business goals. So it's the overarching business goals, whether that's a large publicly listed company and you're looking at different business units potentially, or even the whole. But it's also, and then you think of an SMEs. Many SMEs spend a lot of time doing tactics without really thinking strategically. And there's a famous Chinese warrior called Sun Tzu who said something along the lines of, strategy with no tactics is the long road to success. Tactics with no strategy is the noise before defeat. And many businesses are doing the latter. So we help them see differently.
Yeah, definitely. I know there's a lot of businesses I speak to, and there always seems to be a disconnect between the sales team and the marketing team. And a lot of that's just got to do with perception. A lot of salespeople just view marketing in a certain way and don't feel they can contribute, or don't feel they understand the lead generation process, or the kind of how hard it is to get leads in on a day-to-day basis. So what do you think what everyone understood? What do you think you wish everyone understood about your job then? What, someone who works within sort of marketing, how would you sell yourself to a sales team?
I think that, so in the B2B world, we've come out, and Britain is particularly high in this regard. I mean, America's similar, but particularly here, where we have salespeople who prospect as well. So we call them, farmers and hunters, and there's different types. So in a lot of the B2B world, what we've had is businesses that have grown up traditionally with account management teams who farm, people who go out there and hunt for new business. And marketing has always been treated as a sort of bolt-on, rather than it being an integral part of that engine of growth. So, whereas interesting, if you look at a lot of B2C companies have gone the other way around. They've actually used marketing as a way to cleverly engage me and you, for example, as consumers, into their brand, so that we then start to feel an emotional connection to the brand, or they're basically pulling emotional triggers so that we stay engaged with them. And what I feel that B2B businesses need to, in particular, really need to learn is the statistics that go with the amount of effort they put behind trying to win a conversation with somebody, to then trying to convert that into a paid sale, for argument's sake. And what a lot of them don't do is realize that marketing is the start of a conversation. but it's also the start of the customer experience. So in today's world, everything's connected, and statistically in B2B, most buyers will have gone 60 to 70% of way through the buying journey before they reach out to the brand or the business. So if you haven't got your story correct on your website or any other way that you're connecting, you're already destroying the customer experience that's being expected. So I think that, you know, a lot of the brands that are out there, I'd like them to think about customer experience rather than just marketing and sales.
Sure. Yeah, so I suppose you see quite a lot of business. I mean, there's certainly a lot of noise when you look online, whether it's social media or just people producing blogs. But I think there's the expectation from a lot of businesses. They just want their marketing department to keep producing content, to keep putting stuff on social media on a day-to-day basis, because maybe they don't necessarily understand the strategy behind it, or they're not enforcing the strategy with the marketing. So a lot of it's just very much self-promotion. There's no sort of emotional connection with the actual customer, which kind of what you sort of brought up earlier. It's more just, yeah, self-promotion, buy from us now. This is how we're so brilliant and things like that. So how do you, what would your advice be to those sort of business owners that maybe treat their marketing departments like that, where they just want them to keep pushing out content all the time?
I would get them to think of themselves as, and I don't know what they're called, scouts or guides, or they were when I was growing up. But the people, the job of the brand is to take people on a journey which enables them to understand the value they're going to get by engaging with that brand, whether it's a product or a service. So they need to stop talking about their product or their service at the center of the story, but put the customer at the center of the story. And then the bit they need to hook into, and there's a guy called Seth Godin who wrote a book called Purple Cow back in 2006. He wrote the book after we were called Purple Frog. So he may be a guru in our industry, but I always think he relied on our name a little bit. But he talked about remarkability. He talked about basically what would people say about your brand, your product or service when you're not in the room, that they value. And there's another guy called Simon Sinek who talked about the people don't buy the what, they sort of buy the how, but they buy your why. And again, many brands who know about this, they get hooked into this concept of coming up with something which has to be sort of our why is we're going to change the world, and that's not true in 99.9% of cases. But the why and the remarkability, if you put them together, it's the emotional connection. So we come back to that word emotion. It's the emotional connection that you have with your client or your customer that enables them to feel comfortable buying from you. And your why may be no different. That value may be no different than your main competitors. But I almost guarantee you that your competitors don't talk about it.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's how you differentiate your brand. I think there's for want of a better description, the customer's the hero, not the brand. Yeah. And Apple now that I think it was Steve Jobs when he went back to Apple, having worked in Pixar, who his dawning realization then was that when scriptwriters write films, they make sure that we're dragged in right at the beginning, otherwise we switch off. But they make it about, they make us the audience almost the hero, don't they?
Yeah, certainly do. So it's one of those, because it's you can produce a great bit of content that does exactly what you just said, but I think a lot of companies also struggle with visibility. They don't know what platform to then sort of publish on, or they start doing it for a month, and it could be the greatest content they've ever produced. Just done a video with all their customers, great reviews, brilliant, but then they're just not getting any engagement from it. So is there a particular sort of strategy they should start off with, or would you recommend just going on every single platform and seeing what sort of hits, or how do you go about? It's such a big monster out there. There's so many different places you can put that bit of content.
Yes. Okay. So the interesting thing here is thinking about your ideal client, your ideal customer. And I can already hear some people who may be listening to this thinking, oh yeah, but I've got loads of different ones. I can sell to everybody. And what you need to do is you need to just forget all that. And you need to say, if I had the opportunity to always sell to my best profiled client or my best profiled customer, what would they look like? And how much money would I be able to get out of them? If it's if what I sell is a one-time purchase and there's no add-ons, then if that one-time purchase is only a tenner and you only make £5 profit out of it, you already realise you haven't got a lot of money left to market it. So it becomes a different challenge than if your product maybe or your service is initially worth £10,000 and somebody's going to pay you £10,000 a year guaranteed for 10 years. Then you've got £100,000. So the amount of money you can spend acquiring people becomes different. So it's who is that ideal customer, and then think about the traditional sales funnel where people always describe it as the funnel that is like on top of an oil can or whatever, where it's wide at the top and it comes down to the bottom. So you put your marketing dollars in and and some revenue dollars come out at the bottom. It's rubbish, because that's the tactics with the noise before defeat. Because most of the channels that you're going to be spending money on won't attract the right people. The conversion rates will be too low. Google AdWords, if you get I think it's 0.08% as a conversion rate, it's huge. Well, think how much money you've got to spend in order to get anything out of that. And it's no good if your product's a tenner, but it might be quite good if you're maybe selling double glazing at 15,000 quid a pop. So so what is your product? What is your service? What is the value of it? That's where you need to start. And then you need to work out you need to set yourself some goals, financial goals. So not that we want to grow 10% this year or 20%. It's how many new customers, clients do you actually need to get? How much do you need to get out of your existing ones? So what you start to build is a picture of the fact that you need to win, and we'll just make the figures up. We need to win 100 new pieces of business in a given year in order to achieve the growth that we're going to going forward. And actually, we also know the lifetime value of this. So it will kick, not only will it give us income this year, but it will also give us income in future years. So then we can work out how much we're going to spend. But the art of that is knowing that if you need to win 100 customers, then how many conversations have you got to have in your world in order to convert them? So do you do quotes? Do you pricing proposals? Do you do tenders? However it is that works in your world, how many of those you got to get to convert one? And then how many to go? So if that was 3, then how many conversations have you got to have to even be able to get to do a quote? How many people have you got to engage? And if you follow that back, typically most people have got to engage with at least 1,000 people before they get one piece of business.
Yeah.
So therefore, where are those people? And why you then need to ask, well, why would I be on Facebook if I'm selling, I don't know, manufacturing items? It's pretty unlikely that my target audience is going to be on Facebook.
Yeah.
But equally, if I'm selling holidays, which are really upmarket, bespoke, dream type holidays, sure, I'll sell them on Facebook and I may be able to create a community who follow us and whatever. But equally, I could put that on LinkedIn, because you could tell the story differently. Because if you create bespoke, beautiful experiences for people to go on, the target audience is going to be people who own businesses.
Yeah.
And if you tell it as a business sense about how you built the journey that they can go on to experience, suddenly they don't feel like you're selling to them. And that comes back to the bit about creating stories that don't make it feel that people are being sold to.
Yeah, I completely understand that. I suppose they've always got to have yeah, they've got to have some kind of emotional connection to it. But yeah, you don't want to feel that you're being sold to. You want to sort of feel that you can dream that dream of wanting that product or service. I think that's the end goal with everything, really.
Yeah, well, you're either doing a desire. So I always think about there's three areas of a business. There's marketing and sales, and customer experience is all about desirability. It's creating a desire and making the product look desirable and fulfilling a compelling need. So people buy because they desire something, or their hair's on fire and they need to fix a problem. Just think of it that way around. But then there's other sides is the feasibility. So that's the operations team making sure that they can deliver on it. Because if your marketing's fantastic but you can't deliver, your customer experience rubbish. So your remarkability is going to be, well, they're not very good. So all the marketing money and sales money you spent has now just been burnt. And then there's the viability bit, which is, can you make a profit out of it? So what's your return on investment? And that's the three areas to look at with all your marketing and sales. Otherwise, you're just a disjointed business.
Yeah, and also going back to your point about designing content for each platform as well. It should be different towards Facebook, should be different on LinkedIn, because it's a completely different audience. And again, you see so many businesses out there that, even myself, made the same mistake where you publish the same content on all platforms expecting the same result. It's never going to happen because it's a complete different audience on all those different platforms.
Correct.
So yeah, it's trying to do that. But yeah, I mean, it's the economy doesn't look brilliant at the moment, and I suppose that's going to affect a lot of budgets and a lot of the way how people operate, because they are going to look at that bottom line in terms of how they operate. I mean, do you think that's the biggest challenge we face in the marketing industry at the moment? Or
well, in reality, marketing budgets are one of the first things to go in most businesses. And there's always talk about, and I know the industry press will go on about, oh no, you must keep marketing, you must keep marketing. Those that keep marketing are the ones that come out the other side well. And they're right, but I would argue you don't have to keep marketing in the same way. So what you need to do is be really resourceful, and you need to be that almost think of it as a lean, mean marketing machine, or lean, mean sales and marketing machine. It's about taking out wastage. So before we had the internet and Google Ads and Facebook and the pay-per-click model, you went to a publisher, they told you that they could put it in front of your target audience, and they'd always show you what the wastage was. I could never get that around my head. Oh, we've only got a 80% wastage. That magazine over there's got a 90% wastage. So basically telling you is 80% of the people who read their magazine are not interested in the slightest about what you're going to say, but they still take your money.
yeah,
And in reality, Facebook and Google are no different. They're a media platform. They want your money, and they waste loads of it. Because although it may feel more powerful that you're not paying for impressions, therefore, yes, there's less wastage. There's loads of wastage if your message and your click, the few clicks that you get, go to somewhere that are meaningless. And you'd be amazed how many Google ads or Facebook ads or Instagram ads go to somebody's homepage. Yeah. Why haven't you created a landing page? Why haven't you created a customer journey that you can measure the effectiveness of? Because again, if we go back to that sales funnel, where it's wrong, you want to tip it upside down in reality, so that if you tip it upside down, you can then say, well, if I put one person in here, they're guaranteed to drop through into my oil can because they've gone through the narrow end. So what have I got to do to make sure as much as possible, every one of those that I put into the thing gets through to the other end? Clearly, you're never going to manage it all, but the idea is to remove the wastage, take away all the stuff, and people are frightened of not doing what their competitors are doing.
Yeah.
Well, don't be frightened about doing what your competitors are doing, because they're probably losing money doing it.
Yeah, definitely. suppose assumption is one of those dangerous things. Just assuming you think you just because you think someone's doing well, and then you think, oh, I should copy doing that because maybe we're going to start doing well just because they might have better online visibility or whatever it might be. But definitely, assumption is it's one of those evils that you shouldn't sort of follow. You need to look at the analytics, what's working well, and follow that. I think that's the most important aspect. I mean, how in terms of sort of getting your return on investment then, because I think most marketers find it very hard to measure that. They can do all these fantastic things online, but when it comes to the reporting aspect, especially if there could be a director going to the owners saying this is a report, but if they can't actually show what they've done, it's contributed any value, then it's well, not embarrassing, but it's not great when you produce a report to the owners and you can't actually say what it's contributed to. I mean, what would your advice be on that perspective?
I would split it into two areas. So and again, B2B is really interesting because lots of people in B2B sort of run away from the word brand because they think it's all to do with consumers and so forth. Brand is just the experience you give people. It's what you say, how you say it, and everything you do, and it's just basically it's a extension of your customer experience. And I would split it into two. I'd say there's two curves of business growth. There's logarithmic, so it goes up quite quickly, then it flattens out. That's just standard advertising. You might get a bit of initial traction, but you're going to burn that market out, so it'll flatten out. So it doesn't matter how much more money you spend, you just won't get an increase. So you need to work out for each particular channel that is of value to the people that you really want to engage with, where that curve flattens out. And you can do that relatively easy by just measuring it and seeing that the incremental gain from every pound spent is or £10 spent is less. I think the other bit is then understanding the exponential curve of growth. And this is what most businesses just don't do, because they don't have a plan that says over the next 5 years, I need to go to get to my goals. Today I've got 2,000 customers. I need to get to 100,000 customers. So I don't have a strategy which works today to get them to 5 years' time. They only ever look at the short term. And then make it worse is that some of these businesses will have a sales cycle of 9 months. And because certain marketing hasn't worked within 6 months and they can see no sales, they go, it hasn't worked. Well, you haven't had time to have the conversation and convert them yet. So you need two strategies. One for where am I going today and what conversations I'm going to hold today that I can potentially convert into paying customers or clients. And then you need a separate strategy, which a lot of this hinges around content, which makes our brand memorable. Now, not memorable in a gimmicky way. Too many people try that. That just doesn't work 90% of the time. It's where you add value. So what conversations can you be holding online? What information you be putting out that gives people value so that they're aware of you. So when they do have a problem or a desire, their tendency is to gravitate back towards you because they feel part of. And I often use this word with people is stop trying to create clients or customers, create a community. Create a community of people who value what you do, and a large chunk of those will buy what you do.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I totally agree with that. In terms of adding that value and adding value to that sort of community, it's definitely the way forward. And you do get a lot back from it as well. From a personal point of view, where I've done that in the past, you learn as a marketing professional as well. If you sort of bouncing off of each other's off your customers. If they feel like they can help you and you're helping them out, then it's a win-win situation. It's not like it says on your website. They're buying from you without you effectively selling to them, because you're providing that value, you're providing that community, it really does work. It's finding the right person though within your organisation to do that as well. I know there's quite a big talent crisis at the moment. LinkedIn keep publishing about it, saying how hard it is to find the right talent, and so many businesses are finding that at the moment. Do you think that's the biggest sort of challenge the recruitment industry has at the moment, or?
Clearly, the shortage of labour is across many sectors. We can see that as you know, in many industries. It's not just marketing and sales and the digital world. But the thing I would say to people out there is change the way you think about it. So many people won't take and I think this is what I call be brave. Take a different approach to your marketing, where you do a more team level marketing. So you don't actually just employ somebody whose job is to go and do the social media, or their job is to be a product brand manager. That may be their prime responsibility, but what you need to create is a little ecosystem where internally within the business, you're always testing good ideas. Because, you know, just imagine if you're in I don't know, a technical industry where there's support contracts going on and you've got engineers. The engineers know more about the clients than the marketing team.
Yeah.
They know more about the problems they're facing and what they're getting stuck on than the marketing team does. So get them involved in the process. Doesn't mean they're doing the job, but create your own little thinking bubbles. Because what I feel is and our mantra, one of our mantras at Purple Frog, internally and externally, is it's about discover, think, inform. So that's our 3 top lines. And under discover, it's a bit of research, it's a bit of test and measure. Under thinking, it's about, well, when we thought about it, what should we do? How do we facilitate that? But then the inform bit is, how do we get that message back out to wider people? But how do you get that message out internally? Because our job is to engage the client's marketing team and and increase what they already do, which is great, but make it excellent, for argument's sake. So it's improving. So it's embedding knowledge rather than just, and I think too many brands try and just outsource. I think, well, I've ticked my marketing box now because I've outsourced it. And that's fundamentally wrong. So this is a man running a consultancy saying, don't outsource it.
Yeah. I suppose it's about, like you say, about working together. So I suppose if I don't know, you speak to a marketing director or marketing manager, it is about working together and really understanding the business. I think that's got to be key, surely. And the more you understand about the business from a consultancy point of view, the better the service you can provide, rather than someone just saying, well, you're the expert, you deal with it. I suppose then you might say, well, actually, no, that's not how we work. By the looks of it, I mean, you need to understand that business, don't you? So.
Well, I also feel that, and procurement is often a dirty word. They do a great job in many areas, but one of the challenges I would put out, and I do put out to procurement teams, and now one of our biggest clients is the Chartered Institute of Procurement Supply, funny enough. But I put out to procurement teams is the principle of, if you ask people to give you to pitch with ideas around your marketing strategy, when they don't know your business, you'll get a load of rubbish. You'll get something that looks pretty and you might buy a nice campaign, but will it be successful? Probably not. So when you do your procurement, you should be looking for people who want to be curious and understand your business. You should let them be curious and understand your business. And therefore, a procurement process which refuses to allow questions is deemed failure before it starts.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, well, look, that's been absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much, David. It's been a pleasure. some
Nice.
absolute
Thanks for having me.
insights there. So yeah, no, thank you very much, and I wish you best of luck with your consultancy for the future and whatever you might do. So that's great.
Thank you, Duncan, and best of luck to Beagle as well.
Thank you very much.